How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of On the Line. Today we're going to speak to Connie Alleyne, and we're going to talk about some tips that maybe we could provide to custody so they could work well with our civilian staff, but maybe also vice versa. Maybe we could provide some tips for civilians to work well with custody. But first, I have to introduce you to Connie Alleyne, who is a regular guest on our Tier Talk YouTube program, but this is the first time she is being seen on the Line. Connie, you mind introducing yourself to our audience?
Sure. Hi, my name is Connie Alleyne. I am the president and founder of the Civilian Corrections Academy, where we provide training for civilian employees. I'm also a criminal justice professor at Monroe College, sort of training up the next generation of civilian employees. And I have a great time on Tier Talk, and I love what I do. So thank you for having me again.
I'd love to have you. Me and Connie have developed a very good history. We've been doing some really great content on the Tier Talk YouTube channel that really helps us get an understanding of both perspectives, both the custodial side as well as the civilian side. But I thought maybe we could start with custody. Connie, as a civilian working in corrections, what are some of the tips that you would provide custody so they can work better with you and your civilian staff?
So what I would say is just talk to us. You know, communication is like the key to everything. Usually there are misunderstandings because we don't have a dialogue. I think that there are operational situations that take place, and there may be some assumptions that either civilians don't understand or civilians have no interest of being included or being involved. And that's simply not the truth. I think that if in fact there was a level of mutual respect that we showed to each other, that we would be able to work really well with each other.
I agree. I think really it's an understanding that we both are actually on the same mission. You know, regardless, we may have these different routes, but I think sometimes custody may forget that one of their purposes is to facilitate the needs of civilians so they can accomplish their mission. But I also think civilians sometimes forget how important they need custody. I mean, I would like to think it's automatic, but sometimes it's not. I think custody is a great reminder also for the civilian staff to realize where you're at. Like, I think having custody present, having that good interaction. Also, the key definitely is you do want to show a working partnership because you don't want the inmates to be given a chance to divide and conquer. So definitely seeing custody working well with civilian staff really, to me, is something that promotes unity and it just promotes a family that kind of makes it harder for the inmates to divide. Maybe they'll see something, let's say, weak in the civilian, hypothetically it could happen, and they'll be like, well, you know what? The individual may have this over need to help or overwhelming need to help, but in the end, she's in an environment or he's in an environment that won't let that person fail because there's custody that she communicates with, and they seem to have this great working relationship, which means that the inmate would be like, you know what, this target's not worth my time. It's just not worth my time. Also, now, what about the other side? What can civilians do to help custody?
So I think that civilians could just be more understanding. I think that there are times where, as you mentioned, I don't want to say we ignore the security aspect of things, but sometimes we're so focused on getting that service provided that we aren't necessarily keeping the security side of things at our forefront of mind. And so there are ways that I think we could be more aware and not ignore the fact that this is a detention facility, whichever jail or prison it is, and that ultimately safety and security really matters to all of us. It's not just custody's responsibility. It is, as civilians, our responsibility as well to be aware and to bring things forward when we discover them or when we see things, whereas usually I feel like there's some times where civilians are pretty silent on things when we don't need to be.
Well said. And I got one more thing before we go to close. Generalized animosity. If you have a problem with an individual, don't make sure you don't use that individual's negative interaction as a way to define the whole department on both sides, whether it's, you know, custody of civilian, civilian to custody. And I mentioned it, I guess today really matters. Stereotypes kill. You know, they just destroy the potential for a good morale. We need that unity behind that wall because, again, it creates just a tremendous voice for us, you know, a voice that shows the balance between the rehabilitation side, the helping side with the safety and security side. And I think that we're able to work together, understand each other's needs, understand the commonalities, understand the differences, we will wind up being a voice that can definitely create some impact in this profession. Hey, Connie, you have anything in closing for On the Line?
I would just like to say not every civilian is a Joyce Mitchell, right? Like not every civilian is an Amy Murray. Not every civilian is out there doing bad things and has some ill intention. You know, give us the opportunity to show that we are part of the team, that we do contribute, that we do have intelligence to contribute, and that we really want to be of service. Yes, sometimes there are tensions and frustrations that come, but that's inherent in the environment. Conflict will happen because we have, even though we are on one mission, we have different agendas as the days progress. And so the more that we are understanding of each other, the better it'll be for us to work as a cohesive team.
I think that's great advice. That definitely just promoting that unity, making sure that we're cohesive, working together as one. As always, guys, the show is On the Line. Tune in next week for another episode. Please, guys, stay safe.